Howdy folks, the final component that was keeping our Devil 505 grounded has finally arrived in the mail, and that's the HobbyWing LCD Programming Box. So I thought we'd just do an unboxing of this thing. We'll look at its features, hook it up to the ESC, program it, and then hopefully tomorrow the weather will be cooperating and we can get our first test hover in, check the blade tracking, make sure the flybarless unit is set up correctly. And then that will basically conclude the entire Devil 505 build project, right from the initial unboxing video to having a finished flying machine. So let's get to the ESC programming box. Apparently, over and above being able to program the ESC with this thing, it also functions as a LiPo volt checker, and then also the USB adapters so you can update firmware or anything else in the ESC. Now, the trickiest part is getting the box open, maybe. So what do we get? Got a USB cord, micro USB end, and then the little programming box. So the connections at the back here, on the one side we've got the USB input, the ESC input for Opto ESC. And then on the back we've got the LiPo battery connector for a balance plug. It looks like it does all the way up to 8 cell packs. I'll just get rid of the protective plastic, and there's our unit. What else is in here? Okay, looks like the cable to hook it up to the ESC, and then an instruction manual, which is always helpful. So I'm going to take a quick peek at that and we'll get it hooked up to the machine and see if we can get it working. Read through the ESC programming box manual, pretty straightforward. So we've got it hooked up to our ESC here. There's a port at the front of the ESC where you plug that supplied extension into. The signal wire is on the right in this orientation, and on our programming box plugs into the ESC. Again, it's labeled with the pin outs, so you've got your ground positive and your signal wire. This, by the way, is if your ESC doesn't have a BEC in it, so it's not supplying the programming box with power in that case, so you have to supply this with power, and it takes anywhere from 5 to 12.6 volts. So just an RX battery would work fine. But this ESC's got the built-in BEC, as we know, so we don't have to worry about that. So we'll plug it in. And we'll just zoom in here on the programming box itself. It should be good. So it's a nice, bright, high contrast display that is backlit. And I think you just have to hit the item. So now it's connecting to the ESC. Just have to wait for that. Shows the ESC software, the mode that's in the ESC, and then it starts going through all your different parameters. The first is what parameter you're setting, or what field, and the second line shows what the actual setting is within that field. So if you were looking at your ESC instructions, the first line represents, numbers 1 to 16, the different fields, and then this second column, what your settings are within those fields. And as you recall from the build video that I had done earlier, there was a few settings in this ESC I didn't want to use, and that's why I haven't been able to fly it yet until we got this. So the first one that comes up is one of those settings. It's in ELF governor mode. I didn't want that. I just wanted a standard linear throttle. So we use the second button to toggle through that. Heli storage governor mode, nope. Fixed wing, nope. So item 2, heli line throttle. That's right, so you hit the OK button to store it. Saving data. Okay, so we'll go to our next item. So it goes to number 2. Setting is, the little asterisk. That's what it defaults to. So that's the default setting in the ESC. Auto cell calculation, yep, that's what we want. So we'll just hit item again to go to the next line. Cutoff type, soft cutoff. I think that's probably all we've got. There's hard cutoff, nope. So you've either got hard or soft. We want soft, so we don't have to change that. Cutoff voltage, I usually go a little higher on here. I go up to 3.2. That's totally up to the individual. So we'll store that. And item 5, Beck voltage. This was the other one I wanted to change. I said I was going to go up to 7.5. Could probably go up to 8. I'm going to start at 7.5 though. So hit OK to store. So that's done. Startup time. This is for governor function, which we're not using, so I don't care about that at this point. Governor parameter, proportional, I imagine that's what the P stands for. We don't care about that. Integral, don't care about that. Again, because we're not using governor. Acceleration time, again, that's a governor function, don't care about it. Restart acceleration, another governor function, don't care about it at this time. Brake disabled, of course, we want. You've got normal brake, proportional brake, reverse brake, but of course we want it disabled, so we're not going to change that. That's what it's set at now. Brake force, we're not using it. We're not using brake, so that's not applicable. Timing, this was another one I wanted to change. As you see, it counts up in 1 degree increments. Higher the timing, generally the more power you're going to get out of your motor, but at the same time you're going to draw more power, and as a sport flyer I don't want that. And of course for our first test hovers and light test flights, don't need anything like that. So I'm going to set this at 5 degrees. Okay to store it. We've done our timing. Motor rotation, that was correct. We don't have to change that, but if your rotor was rotating in the wrong direction, this is where you would change it, or you could just move 2 of the 3 wires around going to your ESC. Active freewheel, yep, we want that enabled, won't change that. Startup power, it can go all the way to, it looks like 7. It defaults to 3. I think we'll just keep it there. When we were doing the bench spool up, it seemed okay. Of course, that was without blades on. And then the next one is restore default. So if you wanted to restore the values back to factory, that's where you would hit OK, but we don't want to do that. Now the last thing, we're going to hook it up to the computer to see how it does there, see what we can access. So it's connected to the PC now through the USB. When you first plug this in, it'll download the driver right away, at least it did on my little laptop. So you don't have to worry about drivers, that was easy. And then you just go into HobbyWing's website to get their software, and it comes in a zip file, and it auto runs the installation, so it was really easy to hook up. Now I've got this hooked up to the PC through the USB cable, and then I've also still got it plugged into the helicopter. Now we just have to power up the ESC in the helicopter, and hopefully this will connect. There it says progress. It's connecting, the little lights down here are flashing, and now it's showing all the settings that we went through on the box, only you can go through them on the computer, and it's you know, easier to set up this way, I find. Just gives you more information, right? And it'll give you, when you click on each setting, it tells you what all the different parameters will do, how they all work. So it just gives you a lot more information when you're setting up through the computer. So those are the general settings. Then you've got your throttle control for all your different governor parameters, and your brakes, which we've got disabled. Timing, there as you know, we set it to 5, which is what it's at. Motor rotation, freewheel is enabled. Startup power, we left it at the default 3. And then when you're setting up your governor, if you eventually want to do that instead of using just flat line throttle curves, this is where you go into that. You can calculate head speeds with entering your pinion and your drive, or your drive gear ratio if you'd rather do that. And then you set up your required RPM, and I imagine, so it shows you if anything below basically 60%, it's going to be warning you that that's too low for the ESC to safely achieve, probably be running too hot. And then if you go up too high, you just basically don't have enough voltage to get that head speed. So pretty typical for any governor setup. And then you can also do firmware upgrades over here if you wanted to. Very intuitive to use. So now that we've got the ESC all set up, just wait till tomorrow morning. Hopefully the sun's shining, it's not blowing like hell, it's not snowing. Who knows? April in the Rockies, you never know. So we'll see you hopefully outside tomorrow. Well, it comes down to the moment of truth. Did the range check, just make sure that's all good. Confirm the gyros are correcting in the right direction after the FBL unit initialized, went through my pitch and throttle curves again. We're using a very tame pitch curve to start out with, pretty tame throttle curve, and we'll see how it goes. And I've also got, I don't know if you can see this, kind of in the sun here. Geez, I don't know if that's showing up, but I've got my gyro channel 5. I've got my gain set up to my slider here, so I can play around with the gyro tail gain. Enough yakking, let's get this thing going.
Throttle really.
Just want to watch the swash plate, make sure it's not twitching or anything, tilting, off level. Everything looks good. Give the tail some input, just make sure it's responding. Doesn't look like it's going to twitch. Beautiful. So let's check the blade tracking here. I've got black and red tape on the tips, and they're right in track. No problem there. Okay, let's see how our tail is. Fairly decent. So tail lock's pretty good. Just keep turning it up low until we get some twitching. Geez, I've got it maxed right up. Let's just try a higher head speed here. So again, tame dual rate. Go up to a little more aggressive dual rate here. Pretty decent. So at this point I know it's flying good. I might play with the elevator gain a bit, but for the most part I'd feel confident now taking this to the flying field to start doing fast test flights. But it looks good. I actually love this color, really visible. So, very happy with it, guys. So if you're thinking of getting one of these, it seems pretty decent. And that's pretty much hands off. Nicely trimmed. Right off the bench. So that's what a good setup will do. Take your time, use a swash leveling tool, go through the FBL setup, double and triple check everything, and that's what you'll get. So hope this Devil 505 heli review, build series, whatever, helped anyone out thinking of getting one of these things. Seems to be a really nice machine. Cheers folks, happy flights.